Dealers are sitting on bikes they can't move, and the numbers explain why. A fully dressed Harley can push past $30,000 today, while riders are quietly buying Japanese cruisers that do the same job for thousands less. Same torque class, similar comfort, fewer repair headaches, and in some cases, nearly half the money out of pocket. That's not opinion. That's listings, price sheets, and what riders are actually paying right now. If you've spent decades believing the badge was the value, this shift hits your garage and your wallet. Today, we're counting down 7 Japanese bikes that are rewriting the math and making Harley look expensive by comparison. Stick with me till the end, because the final pick is the one that makes the value gap impossible to ignore. Number 7. Kawasaki Vulcan 1700 Vaquero. There was a time when a full-dress touring bike meant signing papers that felt heavier than the machine itself. Long forks, wide bars, hard bags, and a frame-mounted fairing once carried a premium that most riders simply accepted. Pride came with a price tag. Yet some riders began looking closer at what they were actually paying for wind protection, torque, and distance comfort, not branding or boardroom polish. The Vaquero speaks directly to that realization. It carries the stance of a serious bagger without leaning on nostalgia alone. The fairing is fixed to the frame, not the bars, giving steady tracking at highway speed. Crosswinds that unsettle lighter machines feel muted here. The riding position stretches you just enough to relax your back without forcing you into an exaggerated posture. On long interstate runs, that balance matters more than flashy trim. Torque is where the Vaquero earns respect. Roll the throttle at 60 miles per hour, and it does not hesitate. It pulls with a steady surge that feels closer to what seasoned riders expect from large American touring twins. Climbing grades with luggage loaded does not require constant downshifts. It feels built for men who still cross state lines instead of circling local coffee shops. Comfort is not an afterthought. The seat offers enough width for real miles, not showroom impressions. Floorboards allow subtle foot movement, easing pressure on aging knees. The fairing cuts wind noise, making long stretches less fatiguing. It does not chase aggressive styling trends that sacrifice ride quality for appearance. Weight, of course, enters the conversation. A touring machine demands respect at parking lot speeds. Yet, the Vaquero carries its mass low, making slow maneuvers more predictable than the number alone suggests. Riders accustomed to older Road King or Ultra models will not find it intimidating. Instead, it feels planted substantial without being stubborn. Maintenance expectations matter to riders who have turned their own wrenches. The Vaquero's engineering reflects the kind of long-term reliability often associated with Japanese touring platforms. It is not designed to impress on a spec sheet alone. It is designed to endure. That difference becomes obvious after years of ownership, not just the first season. 76 horsepower from 1,700 cubic centimeters, 107 pound-feet of torque, dual front disc brakes and rear disc brake with anti-lock braking system, 43-inch front fork and rear air-adjustable suspension, 835 pounds wet weight, 28.7 inches seat height, starting at $16,999. Where prestige once dominated the touring conversation, capability now demands equal attention, and what follows narrows the focus from heavyweight authority to long-haul practicality without excess bulk. Number 6. Yamaha V-Star 1300 Tourer. Some machines never chase headlines. They earn loyalty quietly, mile after mile, with nothing more than steady torque and a comfortable saddle in a world where touring bikes grow larger, heavier, and more expensive every season. There is something refreshing about a motorcycle built with distance in mind instead of showroom spectacle. The Tourer carries the look that long-haul riders respect. Hard bags sit cleanly against the rear fender without looking oversized. A windshield rises high enough to break wind pressure across the chest, reducing fatigue on long interstate stretches. The riding position feels natural, not exaggerated. Arms fall easily to the bars, and the floorboards give your boots room to move during a 500-mile day. Torque delivery defines this machine's personality. It does not snap or surge unpredictably. Instead, it builds power in a smooth, deliberate wave that suits older riders who appreciate control over theatrics. Rolling through open country at 70 miles per hour feels calm and settled. There is no frantic vibration or unnecessary noise, just a steady rhythm that reminds you why touring became a way of life in the first place. Weight plays a major role in confidence, especially as years add up. The tourer avoids the extreme bulk found in some modern baggers. Maneuvering through fuel stops or backing out of a parking space feels manageable rather than intimidating. Riders who have owned full-dress touring rigs understand how much that matters. Once knees and hips begin to speak up after long rides, comfort is not limited to the seat alone. Suspension tuning leans towards stability rather than sport stiffness. Expansion joints and uneven pavement are absorbed without punishing the rider. Over long distances, that translates to less fatigue and more enjoyment. Touring should not feel like work. It should feel like the open road unfolding at your pace. Reliability reputation is another reason seasoned riders look twice at this platform. The engineering behind it reflects years of refinement, rather than sudden redesigns. Owners often speak of high mileage achieved with routine maintenance and little drama. That kind of record matters more than flashy marketing promises. There is also a certain honesty in the way the tourer presents itself. It does not pretend to be something radical. It honors the traditional cruiser silhouette while quietly delivering real interstate capability. For riders who value substance over styling trends, that restraint feels intentional. The design avoids gimmicks and unnecessary flourishes, focusing instead on proportion and practicality, which seasoned riders recognize as the foundation of lasting respect. 72 horsepower from 1,304 cubic centimeters, 81 pound-feet of torque, dual front disc brakes and rear disc brake, telescopic front fork and rear link suspension, 712 pounds wet weight, 27.2 inches seat height, starting at $12,399. Where heavyweight authority once dominated the touring conversation, a more balanced approach begins to show its strength as the road ahead calls for something lighter, yet still rooted in classic cruiser character. If this breakdown is hitting home, support the channel by liking this video and subscribing for straight, veteran-level motorcycle analysis. Share your experience in the comments. What are you riding now, and would you switch for half the cost? Number 5. Honda Rebel 1100. There comes a point when strength is no longer measured by how much weight you can wrestle at a stoplight. It is measured by control, balance, and how confident you feel easing through a tight fuel station without straining your knees. Many seasoned riders discover that lighter does not mean weaker. It simply means smarter. The Rebel 1100 enters that conversation with quiet confidence. It carries a low, compact stance that feels approachable the moment you swing a leg over. The seat height allows both boots to sit flat on the pavement, which makes a difference after decades in the saddle. Instead of towering bulk, you get a machine that centers you, keeping weight low and predictable. Throttle response is immediate, but not abrupt. Roll it on in second gear at city speed, and the pull feels steady and controlled. There's no excessive vibration or rattling chatter. Power builds in a clean line, giving you the sense that every movement of your right hand has a direct mechanical answer. For riders accustomed to larger touring frames, that responsiveness can feel refreshing. Highway travel does not overwhelm it either. At cruising speed, the engine remains composed, and passing traffic requires only a firm twist rather than a downshift scramble. That balance between low-end torque and mid-range strength makes it practical for both back roads and interstate miles. It is not trying to imitate heavyweight touring rigs. It is carving its own lane. Technology plays a role here, though it never overshadows the ride itself. Selectable ride modes adjust throttle response and traction control without demanding constant attention. Riders who prefer simplicity can leave it in standard and forget about it. Those who ride in changing weather appreciate the extra layer of security. The goal is assistance, not distraction. Weight reduction stands out immediately. Coming in under 500 pounds, it feels noticeably more manageable than traditional full-size cruisers. Parking lot maneuvers demand less effort. Backing into a driveway does not require the same physical push. For older riders who still crave torque but want relief from constant heft, that difference becomes meaningful. Low-speed balance feels natural, not top-heavy or awkward, which builds confidence at every stoplight. Tight turns in crowded spaces no longer feel like a calculated risk. Even mounting and dismounting becomes easier on aging knees and hips. Over a full day of riding, that reduced strain adds up, leaving more energy for the miles ahead instead of recovery afterward. The suspension tuning leans toward balance rather than softness. Road imperfections are absorbed without wallowing through corners. It tracks cleanly and holds a steady line when leaned over gently on winding stretches. Braking performance inspires confidence, offering controlled stops without drama. 86 horsepower from 1,084 cubic centimeters, 72 pound-feet of torque. Single front disc brake and rear disc brake with anti-lock braking system. 43-inch inverted front fork and dual rear shocks. 487 pounds wet weight, 27.5 inches seat height. Starting at $9,999. A shift toward muscle without excess bulk begins to surface from here as the following machine takes the idea of cruiser performance and pushes it into far more aggressive territory. If you're running the math on these bikes, check the description for the gear and accessories that actually improve comfort, wind, protection, and long-mile control without wasting money. Number 4. Yamaha V-Max. Every so often, a factory motorcycle arrives that ignores tradition and dares the industry to catch up. Not because it is dressed in chrome or nostalgia, but because it delivers power that forces even loyal riders to take a second look. Among cruisers built for steady highway rhythm, one machine chose brute strength as its calling card. The V-Max does not ease into a conversation. Twist the throttle, and it answers immediately, with a surge that feels closer to a muscle car than a laid-back boulevard cruiser. Riders who grew up debating cam profiles and carb jetting understand that raw horsepower changes perspective. It reminds you that displacement alone does not define authority. How that power is delivered matters more. What makes the V-Max unique is how it blends aggression with control. Despite its reputation for straight-line dominance, the chassis feels planted and deliberate. It does not wobble under heavy acceleration, and it does not feel vague when leaned into a broad sweeper. The weight carries low, giving the rider a sense of stability even as the engine roars to life. Braking performance stands apart from many traditional cruisers. Dual front discs provide strong stopping force, backed by modern anti-lock braking system control. For older riders who remember when heavy bikes required careful planning before a hard stop, that added confidence is not a small detail. It allows you to use the machine's strength without second-guessing its limits. The riding position leans slightly forward compared to classic touring setups. It encourages a more engaged posture, almost inviting the rider to take command rather than simply cruise. For some, that feels invigorating. For others, it feels like a reminder that motorcycles can still surprise you after decades in the saddle. This machine never pretended to be subtle. It was engineered to prove that a cruiser could compete, with sport-focused performance without sacrificing road presence. While many brands refined heritage lines year after year, the V-Max stood apart as a declaration of mechanical ambition. On open stretches of highway, that ambition becomes obvious. Acceleration from a roll feels immediate and relentless. Passing slower traffic does not require planning several seconds ahead. The engine's character stays smooth even as speed builds, delivering strength without harsh vibration. Twist the throttle at 60 miles per hour and the response is decisive, pushing you forward with a surge that feels controlled rather than chaotic. There is no frantic buzz through the bars, no unsettling wobble as momentum climbs. The power band remains broad and usable, giving seasoned riders confidence during long-distance runs. Even at sustained cruising speeds, the engine maintains composure, proving that high performance can coexist with real-world rideability. Ownership considerations remain practical. The design reflects years of development rather than rushed reinvention. Riders who value durability alongside performance appreciate that balance. It is not merely about winning stoplight contests. It is about sustaining that performance over real mileage. 170 horsepower from 1,679 cubic centimeters, 111 pound-feet of torque, dual front disc brakes, and rear disc brake with anti-lock braking system, inverted front fork and rear monoshock suspension, 683 pounds wet weight, 30 inches seat height. starting at $17,999. Performance at this level reshapes expectations. Yet a different kind of strength emerges ahead, where balance and everyday usability begin to carry equal importance. Number 3. Kawasaki Vulcan 900 Custom. Sometimes the smartest choice is not the loudest one in the parking lot. It is the machine that carries itself with confidence, delivers dependable torque, and asks nothing more than regular maintenance and fuel. In a market crowded with oversized touring rigs and high-dollar prestige models, a balanced middleweight cruiser deserves serious attention. The Vulcan 900 Custom brings that balance into focus. Its stretched stance and clean lines give it a presence that feels familiar to riders who grew up around classic American silhouettes. Long, low proportions without unnecessary bulk make it visually appealing without drifting into excess. It looks like a cruiser should, yet it avoids the weight that can make full-size machines feel intimidating. Out on the road, the Custom proves why moderation works. Throttle response is smooth and predictable, with torque arriving in a steady wave rather than a sudden hit. That character suits riders who value control over theatrics. Rolling through small towns or cruising along open highway, the engine feels relaxed yet capable. It does not strain at higher speeds, and it does not demand constant shifting to stay in its power band. Ergonomics matter more as years accumulate. The seating position offers a comfortable reach to the bars, and forward-mounted controls allow legs to stretch naturally. At stoplights, the manageable seat height provides reassurance. Both boots settle firmly on the ground, reducing the small anxieties that heavier motorcycles sometimes introduce. Confidence at low speed translates directly to enjoyment on longer rides. Handling reflects the benefits of moderate weight. Corner entry feels predictable, with no sudden lean or awkward top-heavy sensation. The Custom tracks through broad curves with stability, holding its line without excessive correction. Parking lot maneuvers are straightforward, a welcome trait for riders who no longer wish to wrestle 700 pounds of chrome. Low-speed balance inspires confidence when easing through tight fuel stations or crowded rally grounds. The steering response remains neutral, neither twitchy nor sluggish, giving seasoned riders the feedback they expect from a well-sorted chassis. Over uneven pavement, the frame stays composed, avoiding the vague wandering that heavier machines sometimes display. For men who value control over brute mass, that steadiness becomes part of the ride's lasting appeal. Maintenance simplicity also contributes to its appeal. The belt drive system eliminates the constant adjustment associated with chains while avoiding the abrupt feel some shaft systems can produce. For riders who prefer time in the saddle over time in the garage, that detail carries practical value. Reliability records across this platform reinforce its reputation as a steady, long-term companion. The visual character leans traditional, without imitating any specific era. It honors cruiser heritage through its silhouette, while remaining grounded in modern engineering. Riders accustomed to older touring machines may appreciate that it does not attempt to overwhelm them with excessive electronics or complicated systems. 50 horsepower from 903 cubic centimeters, 58 pound-feet of torque, single front disc brake and rear disc brake, 41-inch telescopic front fork and rear shock suspension, 610 pounds wet weight, 27 inches seat height, starting at $8,999. Measured strength often proves more satisfying than excess, and a more traditional cruiser approach waits ahead, grounded in chrome simplicity and mechanical honesty. If you value honest comparisons without marketing spin, make sure you're subscribed. More deep dives like this are coming, built for riders who care about torque, comfort, and long-term ownership, not hype or brand politics. Number 2. Suzuki Boulevard C50. There is a certain comfort in familiarity, the kind that reminds you of open highways in the late 1990s when cruisers were built to ride rather than to impress. Long fenders, generous chrome, and a steady V-twin pulse once defined the American touring dream. In that landscape, a machine that honors those lines without excessive cost feels like a return to basics. The C50 carries that traditional silhouette with quiet confidence. Wide handlebars sit at an easy reach, and the seat cradles you low to the pavement. When you ease off the kickstand and settle into traffic, it feels composed rather than hurried. Nothing about it shouts for attention. It simply occupies the road with a calm presence that seasoned riders recognize immediately. Torque delivery reflects its character. Power builds in a smooth arc, allowing gentle roll-on acceleration through city streets and confident merging onto faster highways. There is no sharp spike or abrupt response. Instead, the engine hums steadily, giving you the sense that it was tuned for durability over drama. For riders who remember carbureted days and simple maintenance routines, that predictability feels reassuring. The shaft drive system deserves mention because it reduces the routine chores many cruisers demand. No chain adjustments, no frequent lubrication sessions, and no sudden slack to manage. It delivers power to the rear wheel with consistent feel and minimal upkeep. For older riders who prefer riding to wrenching, that simplicity carries real value. Handling remains grounded and stable. At low speeds, the C50 carries its weight in a way that feels balanced. Parking lot maneuvers do not require excessive muscle. On gentle curves, the chassis tracks steadily without wandering. It is not built to carve mountain passes at aggressive lean angles. It is built to cover miles with composure. Comfort extends beyond the seat itself. The suspension absorbs ordinary road imperfections without transmitting harsh jolts through the frame. Long afternoons in the saddle feel manageable rather than punishing. Floorboards provide space for subtle foot adjustments, easing pressure points. During extended rides, the overall experience favors endurance over spectacle. The visual appeal lies in its honest design. Sweeping fenders and classic lines echo an era when cruiser styling felt timeless. It does not attempt to modernize heritage with sharp angles or oversized components. Instead, it preserves a look that many riders still associate with the golden years of American touring culture. There is no forced aggression in the bodywork, no unnecessary bulk added for trend appeal. The stance remains balanced and proportionate, allowing the engine and frame to remain the focal points. For riders who remember when design served function first, that restraint feels authentic and enduring. 53 horsepower from 805 cubic centimeters, 53 pound-feet of torque, single front disc brake and rear drum brake, telescopic front fork and rear link-type suspension, 611 pounds wet weight, 27.6 inches seat height, starting at $8,609. Tradition at this price point speaks clearly, yet the final entry shifts toward a stripped and purposeful design that distills cruiser spirit down to its mechanical core. Number 1. Yamaha Bolt R-Spec. In every generation, there is one machine that strips the conversation back to steel and throttle. No oversized fairings, no layered trim packages, no complicated distractions. Just a frame, a V-twin pulse, and the kind of stance that reminds you why cruisers mattered in the first place. For riders who believe motorcycles should feel mechanical rather than theatrical, that simplicity carries weight. The Bolt R-Spec stands low and purposeful. The tank flows clean into the seat, and the minimal bodywork leaves the engine exposed where it belongs. It does not hide behind chrome excess. Instead, it shows its structure openly, almost like a custom build that rolled straight from a careful garage rather than a marketing department. That honesty appeals to riders who have spent years around real metal. Throttle response feels direct and unfiltered. Roll on the gas, and the torque answers without hesitation. There is no lazy lag or artificial smoothing that dulls the experience. It feels connected, as though the engine and rider share the same intention. Around town, that means confident launches from stoplights. On open roads, it translates into steady pull without unnecessary drama. Mid-mounted controls change the riding posture compared to stretched cruiser layouts. Your feet sit beneath you rather than far forward, which adds a sense of control when cornering. It encourages active riding rather than passive cruising. For seasoned riders who still enjoy carving through gentle sweepers, that difference becomes noticeable quickly. Weight remains manageable, and that matters as much in a driveway as it does on a highway. Maneuvering the Bolt through tight spaces does not require brute strength. At low speeds, balance feels natural. Riders who have owned heavier touring machines often appreciate how much easier everyday handling becomes without sacrificing engine character. Suspension tuning leans slightly toward firmness compared to traditional soft cruisers. The piggyback rear shocks help maintain composure over uneven pavement, keeping the chassis stable through moderate curves. It feels planted without being harsh. Braking performance remains straightforward and predictable, offering solid stopping power without complication. The Bolt R-Spec also invites personalization. Its clean design serves as a foundation rather than a finished statement. Many riders value that flexibility, whether adding a different seat, adjusting bars, or refining exhaust tone. It becomes a canvas without requiring deep mechanical alteration to function properly. Most importantly, it delivers a riding experience that feels authentic. It does not pretend to carry decades of heritage on its shoulders. Instead, it focuses on torque, balance, and affordability. For older riders who have already owned high-dollar machines, that straightforward approach can feel refreshing. 65 horsepower from 942 cubic centimeters, 59 pound-feet of torque, single front disc brake and rear disc brake, telescopic front fork, and piggyback rear shocks, 542 pounds wet weight, 28 inches seat height, starting at $8,899. With simplicity reclaiming the spotlight, the larger message becomes clear. Substance and mechanical honesty can stand tall without carrying the financial burden once considered unavoidable. For riders who have seen trends rise and fall, that realization hits deeper than marketing slogans ever could. Real torque, manageable weight, and fair pricing speak louder than prestige badges. In the end, the road respects balance, durability, and the quiet confidence of a machine built to ride. For decades, one badge set the standard, but the road has a way of stripping things down to what actually works: torque, comfort, reliability, and what your money really buys. These 7 bikes prove the market has changed, whether the industry wants to admit it or not. You don't have to give up pride to ride smart. You just have to follow the math and the miles. Now, I want to hear from you. Which bike here surprised you? And what are you riding today? If this breakdown helped you see the market clearer, hit like so it reaches more real riders, and subscribe for honest, veteran-level motorcycle analysis without the hype.